I'm Kate, and this is my booktube. Today, we're here to talk about the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, City of Bones. What a book! I'm going to talk like I am just basically giving spoilers, so anyone who hasn't read this book, go. I mean it, leave. I don't like you anymore. I like you after you read the book. It's just, you can't click on a video when you haven't read the book because I like to give spoilers. Don't you agree? So, leave, come back once you've read it, and we can all be best friends. You left? Good. Now we can talk. So, the City of Bones book. I absolutely love this book. I like seeing, how... Man, why do I keep saying like? I like seeing how all the relationships that we see later in the series aren't there yet. And I like seeing Clary and Jace connect. They don't collect. That's one of my favorite things about this book, is probably Clary and Jace. I absolutely love them as a couple, and the end of this book just makes your heart break. I read the book after the movie came out. Don't ask me why. I didn't really know what the series was. I got it for Christmas. I didn't really know what the series was. The movie came out. We got it on DVD. I watched it. The next day... Actually, that night... The night I watched that movie, I get them for Christmas in a cute little box set. And I'm like, what did I just do to myself? After seeing the end of the movie, I obviously wanted to read the books. But I was so mad at myself for doing that to myself. I completely spoiled the book, even though the movie was nowhere near as good. Still full of spoilers. So, I decided that I was going to read them as fast as I could and find out what happened. And I did. It took I had a 2-week vacation after a 2-week vacation after Christmas. And I was on the last book of the series by then, so I read fast. But let's start with, what did I feel about Clary and Jace? Even though they're kind of this defunct couple where Clary looks at Jace like, what did you say? And she kind of gets mad and she thinks she's too tough. You can see automatically that they're a perfect couple. When she really sees him, she thinks that she's staring at him like, what are you doing? Well, really, she's looking at him like, oh my gosh, I'm completely and utterly in love with you. She just automatically had this God look at Jace. She saw him in the eyes of all the good things about him and not the bad things, and it was interesting. And then Jace, he was all tough on the outside, and yeah. You see this? This is my sarcastic self, and you're gonna like me. But really, he was like, oh my gosh, who is she? I think I'm in love with her. What? In love? He was completely confused, and it was so interesting. I really like them. Now, what about the whole Clary, Jace, Simon triangle thing? I never really felt like it was there. I mean, yes, Simon was in love with her, and Jace was in love with her, and she's like, what just happened? But I always saw Simon as the best friend. Just the best friend. That's all I saw. So, when he was like, I'm in love with you, I'm like, yeah, but you'll get over it, you'll find someone new. Jace has just met her, and he's already in love with her. And yes, it's love at first sight, but that's what makes love stories so awesome, is love at first sight. And Simon has had all these years to ask her, why wait until after she's already looking at someone else? So, I'm sorry, people who like Kleiman. I've always been a Clace fan. And I was really happy to see that it was going in that direction. I really liked how it was going towards Clace. But then the ending came. And that just messes us up big time. The whole, oh yeah, Valentine is both of your fathers, so you guys are siblings, so you can't date. And by the way, Jace is very confused because you guys are related, and he's a Morgenstern, and he thought he was a Wayland, and what is up with Jace's last names? It just freaks out and turns and spins into this cauldron of confusing, and through it all I can think is, they're siblings? They're siblings? That's not fair! They can't be siblings! They can't be siblings! I was freaking out. Definitely wasn't a happy ending. Not to me. They lost the Mortal Cup. They lost Valentine. And now they're siblings. Oh, and then yeah, her mom is still in a coma. Nothing really worked out. It just was a very sad ending for a book. Which is obviously why everyone's so excited for the next one. We like happy endings. When we don't get one, we want to find one. So, now let's go to favorite characters. I've already went over the fact that I love Clary and Jace, and I do like Simon too, but let's talk about the other characters. What do I think about them? So let's start with the Lightwoods. Well, Izzy, at first you're like, who is she? And you're like, acts like she's so cool and like tall and beautiful and all that stuff, and yes, that helps get you seen by guys, but she's such a brat. You really start to hate her at the beginning. It's not till later in the book that you're like, not bad. She says how much she was scared for Clary, and you're like, oh, maybe she has a heart. Maybe she's not a witch. And I kind of always liked her, I just didn't know why. So, Clary's interesting. Why did I say Clary? Izzy's an interesting character. Alec. Oh my gosh. I always liked him. Even after he was doing the whole I hate Clary thing, I was like, oh, it was interested me. It didn't make me mad. It interested me. I was like, why? I was going into the whole psychologist thing. Why do you hate Clary? What underlying feeling do you have that's making you hate Clary? Because you barely know her. It's not that she's a terrible person, because she's obviously not. Why? Why do you hate Clary? And he gets hurt, and the whole reason he gets hurt when he tries to beat that demon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he has this like beautiful little soul, and he's scared, and I understand that completely. I have a friend who hates Alec, and all I can think is, boo, because you cannot hate Alec. He has this sweet little feelings inside him that when they come out, you're like, I'm out of words. It's amazing when you see the emotion that comes out of Alec. I've always liked him in this book. I mean, I got kind of mad at him for a little while at the beginning because he was being mean to Clary, and I like Clary. But he isn't a bad character, not at all. Okay, now let's get to Hodge. Now, how do I feel about Hodge? A mix between hate and love. I loved him when he was telling Jace what to do, and he was helping him out, but he wasn't getting too close to it. I hated him once I found out why he was doing those things. The fact that he would help Valentine just so he wouldn't have to leave. I mean, that way he could leave. He could go away. He wouldn't have to be stuck in the institute all the time. I felt that was a jokish move. Selling away other people's lives so you can move. I wouldn't do that just because I want to leave my state and go to a big city doesn't mean that I am going to let someone murder my brother so I can go. That's what it feels like. It feels like he's really just ruined everybody's lives because he doesn't want to live in one place the rest of his life. That's not right. Fix glasses. Okay. So, then the next character, and he is very fun to talk about. Luke! He's like the best father figure! I loved him! I mean, he was like, okay, at the beginning, he hung out with Clary's mom, and you're like, okay, so why is he here? And you're like, what? He's a shadow hunter? What's going on? You're completely confused. You started to kind of hate him, and then you find out he's a werewolf. And all of a sudden, I go from hate to love. I was falling in love with Luke. Not really. Obviously not. He's not that good of a character. But I just love this whole, like, werewolf clan and group, and they're all, like, together, and they would save his life, and he was, like, he was so sweet to Clary, and I really liked Luke. He may not be the most extravagant character, but I like him. And now, the biggest terror of this book. Valentine! Now, what do I feel about Valentine? I feel like I want to push him down a cliff. Literally, push him down a cliff. With Valentine. And yes, I'm not supposed to. He's the bad guy. Obviously, I shouldn't. But I really don't like him. I mean, because he twists people's ideas of things, and he makes me want to scream. Who does that? There's nothing that I like about Valentine. He hurt Clary's mom. He hurt Jace. He has hurt Clary. He almost killed Luke. And you know how I feel about Luke. It didn't make me like him at all. He was a good bad guy. But not a great bad guy either. He wasn't like a big, amazing bad guy. All I did was hate him, which I'm supposed to do with bad guys, but not that much. There's supposed to be a little bit of like, little bit. Okay. And now the last character, the most extravagant of all! Magnus Bane! Who doesn't like Magnus Bane? He's one of my favorite characters in this series. He is extravagant and he is small, but he has that kind of toned down feeling like he knows things. But at the same time, even though he knows things, he's not sitting there in a suit like, no. He is like glitter and everything and ponies, and he is cool, and I love Magnus Bane, and I will love Magnus Bane for a long time. I hope I never don't. He is an amazing character. Okay, so I've been talking about this book, and I feel like I've got most of the main things about this book through talking about the characters and that stuff. If I missed something, comment, tell me, I'll answer your questions. Maybe I'll answer them another time. Maybe I'll put them right down in the comments, but I'll answer your questions. Now, please, comment, like, dislike, I don't care, just watch this video. Do something. Thank you. Goodbye.